Afternoon. Welcome to UK Column News. I'm your host, Charles Mallet. I have with me in the studio Mike Robinson. Good afternoon, Mike.
Afternoon.
And we're joined by Vanessa Booley via video link from Damascus. We're going to start the programme with Vanessa, who's going to tell us about the situation involving Sarah Wilkinson, the British journalist recently arrested for online posts. So, Vanessa, over to you.
Thank you, Charles, and good afternoon to everybody. So we're going to first of all look at the increasing totalitarianism from the UK state, particularly under the government of Keir Starmer, who, as Jonathan Cook writes for Consortium News, is now terrorizing Palestine supporters and those that question the UK's complicity with Israel's genocide in Gaza. So what I'm going to look at is an interview that Sarah Wilkinson, an activist and journalist on Palestine particularly, someone that doesn't necessarily put out political views, but is literally reporting on the hourly slaughter of Palestinians inside Gaza itself. She did a recent interview detailing her arrest under Section 12 of the Counter-Terrorism Act in the UK, where she describes 12 officers coming into her house. Not all of them are anti-terrorist squads, some of them wearing balaclavas at before 7:30 in the morning. So I'm going to just play a few clips from an interview she did with Crispin Flintoff, and this is the first clip.
I've gone to find them and they're not there. Especially the money. But the passport is a difficult one because I am now required to hand in my passport in 7 days' time. But they've taken my passport and they've not included it in the list. So in a way, it's entrapment. When I go to hand in my passport and I can't, then I'm in breach of bail and they'll arrest me because they'll say that I've hidden my passport or... But actually, they've taken it, but they've denied that they've taken it. So now how do I hand in a passport that's been taken but not listed? I'm completely trapped, and there's nothing I can do. And not being allowed to travel, and yet I have to sign in. It's 4 bus journeys, which I can't reach the place I have to sign into in a day. So I would be stranded. And when I said, well, I can't get home, if I sign in on this particular day, there isn't a bus to get me back. He said, well, bring a tent. Well, I'm 61. And he's asking me now into November, this will go through winter. Because I can't get home, I have to take a tent.
I mean, I do recommend that people watch the full video, which of course will be in the show notes. It's quite horrifying. Sarah then goes on to describe some of the other acts committed of destruction, really, and looting committed by the police officers. So if we just play the second clip.
But they also took about £200 worth of cash out of my wallet. And then they scattered my mother's ashes all over the attic. I had a horrendous day yesterday, literally scraping my mother's ashes out of old picture frames. They were everywhere. I've never had to do anything so horrendous as that before. And the urn obviously is meant to be 3/4 full. The urn is now half full. So my mother's ashes are still scattered in places that I can't retrieve them. In parts of the attic, I just can't retrieve them.
I mean, this is a complete campaign of terrorism, as Sarah describes it herself. And she also describes not only the looting, effectively the theft of money and other items, and then not listing them before the police left her house. But also here she talks about how the police were dressed. But she does also say at a later point in the video that it was very similar to her to a Shin Bet operation or a Mossad operation in the way that the police were both treating her and questioning her, particularly about Palestinians that she said they deliberately appeared to dehumanize and to be very racist towards. So let's just watch the final clip.
I live in a very small rural area. I'm not allowed to travel. That's another thing. No travel documents, no train tickets, no bus tickets, nothing that enables travel. So I live in a remote place with one shop. I can't even do online shopping, or I can't even get food that my village doesn't sell. So I'm now basically, this is almost a house arrest without it being a house arrest. So yeah, the conditions of the looting, I'm going to call it looting because they have stolen stuff and not listed it. So I can never claim it back. The money has just been pocketed by one of them. My son was treated badly. He was sort of thrown out of the house while they did this. And then I was held without any medication, no food, because without my meds, I can't eat. So therefore, if I was going to be there for a week, which is very possible, I couldn't eat. And I thought, well, if I'm here for 7 days, I'm not going to survive this. So it's like terrorism against civilians, and the balaclavas, hiding their identity. I think that felt like this was a terrorist raid. But not only that, when I was in the police van, they didn't drive to the police station. They went a different way. And there was a point during this journey, I thought, they're not police. I've actually been abducted here. I've been kidnapped. They aren't police. They're not driving.
Quite extraordinary. And in another section, she describes the fact that she has Crohn's disease. Her medical card was hidden inside the mattress. And they also bugged the house, they discovered afterwards, because there was plaster missing and putty on the wall. They then removed the bugs. So quite an extraordinary experience, and not something that any of us, of course, would want to go through. And that is part of the freezing effect on dissent against the government. At the same time, of course, the Palestine Action co-founder faces charges under the Terrorism Act, under Section 12 also, as does, of course, Richard Medhurst, we've talked about previously. If we just look at this, there are a number of Palestine Action that, of course, have been carrying out direct action against the arms companies like Elbit that have been supplying weapons to Israel to enable the genocide. And there were a number of the Palestine Action activists arrested also. So, we appear to be really going into what is effectively a crackdown on dissent against government policy. I'm sorry. Yes, I just wanted to quickly play this. Sorry, I know I'm a little bit over time now. But I think this video brings an important message.
Let us be clear. Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. The US is complicit in genocide. These are not political statements. They are statements that are made from knowledge and experience. But even if there were legitimate doubts about Israel's genocide, there is no doubt that Israel is committing atrocity crimes of the most barbaric kind. Israel must be stopped. Israel must be stopped now. We are disgusted by Western leaders, especially in the USA, Germany and the UK. They have demonstrated not only that they don't care one bit about genocide prevention and human rights, but also that they are willing to allow an ally to commit atrocity crimes while they offer material and diplomatic support. It is reprehensible, and the individuals involved in this gaslighting campaign should be deeply ashamed. They should also be put on trial. Humanity has a choice. Either we decide that our children can all be killed whenever a superior force alleges that terrorists are among us, or we decide that under no circumstances will we allow these superior forces to lay waste to our world any longer. We must each choose and act accordingly. The watershed moment is now.
I think that's a very strong message, and I'll end there.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. Obviously a terrible ordeal for Sarah Wilkinson to go through, and the wider point being how vulnerable people in similar positions now are.